Hi, everybody. Good morning. Welcome. We are here this morning to do a workshop with you, and I'm so excited because we get to do this workshop with my wonderful friend and co-founder of the Good Place Collective, Miss Lindsay Kusy. Hi, Lindsay.
Good morning. It's so good to be here.
I know, I'm so excited. Lindsay is joining us this morning to do a little workshop for everybody on makeup and give us some good tips and tricks on makeup application, unique application, hopefully for each of you will pick up some things based on what Lindsay's going to share with us. Lindsay, for those of you that don't know, is an esthetician and owner and operator of Diva Den Day Spa, known as your beauty expert. And she truly is. I just quickly want to share, I've been a client of Lindsay's for quite a long time. And we of course always get chatting, and she's kind of my go-to when I have questions about skincare, when my eyebrows are doing something weird. I just, she's just such a true expert, and I really, really value her opinion and her experience. Lindsay's been doing this a long, long time. And one of the things I love about Lindsay and kind of like in the topic of makeup is that Lindsay always looks so well put together, but in such a natural way. So I'm really excited to learn from you today and take some really great notes, because I think makeup can just, and everyone of course is different in what they like. But I know for me, I like to wear makeup, but I like to look kind of as natural as possible. So Lindsay for me is like my go-to person. So I hope you guys get as much out of this as I know I'm going to. So welcome if you're catching us on the replay. And Lindsay, welcome.
Oh my goodness. Okay, first of all, Sarah, you're the sweetest. Thank you so much for sharing all of that. Oh my goodness. And I really appreciate your words. I really, I love working with people. I love, just helping people lead into their day with radiance, and I think that's what it's really about. And I also really appreciate wanting to be comfortable in your own skin. At the end of the day, when we take our makeup off, we still want to recognize ourselves. I mean, I think there's exceptions to that when it feels really good to get all gussied up, but it's also good to know how we can easily do our makeup, feel really good, glow, and just like get into that day super confident. So thank you so much for sharing that. So welcome everyone. I'm just so pleased to be here. This is such a great opportunity just to share. And maybe Sarah can attest to this. I often overshare information. I love education. I love sharing all the little tips and tricks and parts and pieces. So this is making my heart sing right now. So I'm really excited. So we're going to get started. My name is Lindsay Kusy. As Sarah mentioned, Diva Den Day Spa is my brand. A little bit about me. These are my people. This is my tribe. Just so you can see what I'm up to behind the scenes. I love connecting with people. This is actually a choir that I sing in. So amazing ladies, we get together, we sing, we get practiced up, and here we were actually doing a performance. You can see my fur baby in the top right corner. This is Tia, also known as Toots, Tootie Boos, and Toots Magoots. So she's, loved. And my life partner, James Alton, my total rock. I can't even imagine what life was like before he came into it. And here we are partying, embarking on a little adventure on a portion of the High Room Trail. So that was a really exciting time, and great trail, by the way. And then this is more family, of course, my business partner in crime, Sarah Brown. We were golfing this day, and it was just such a great day to get out there. And then this is my family. So this is actually taken last fall, and this is my mom's side. And, my grandma, my mom, my dad, my cousin, my nephew, but my cousin's kid, I call him my nephew, her partner, my aunt, and we were actually in my Revelstoke.
Nice.
So, yeah. Just some feel good vibes. You can kind of see where I come from. I'm from Revelstoke originally, so it's just really great to include them. So Diva Den Day Spa was established in 2010, if you can believe it. So that was 11 years ago, which just blows my mind. As Sarah mentioned, I'm a certified esthetician, nail technician, skincare specialist, as well as a makeup artist. And I really love each and every part and piece of what I do. And I was doing a little bit of research into my numbers. And as Sarah knows, I love numbers. So this is just my 14 years of experience. So I had my business for 11, but I was in the industry for a few years before I started with my own brand. And I thought it was just so much fun that I've done like 4,000 manicures or gel nails in the course of my career, you know, well over 1,300 pedicures, 1,500 tints, which is eyelash tinting or eyebrow tinting, so getting that perfect color for my people. And I think with that, you just develop skill. You see a lot of things. You are able to come up with good plans. You know, when people can ask questions, you can answer them effectively because you've seen it before, you know, and you're able to guide people. I've done well over 500 makeup applications, as well as 125 weddings over the course of 14 years, which is just wild. It makes me laugh. And I am known, my number one service is eyebrow shaping. And you know, that's on the upward number of 6,000. So now I know why it's my number one service. It's the one I have the most experience in.
Yeah, that's a good point. Hey, yeah, just that's your, yeah, amazing.
Yeah.
So, well, and your work proves your experience. I mean, you're very talented.
Oh, thank you, sweetie. Anyway, I thought that was super fun to share and just like, oh, okay. Yeah, I've done a couple things, you know.
That's really cool.
So I wanted to share that. And ultimately, why do I do what I do? I love making people feel good. I love boosting confidence. That is just what I do. When you come in to see me, we chat, we gab, we laugh, we cry. I don't know. It depends on what's on the roster. You know, the day we just, we feel really good. We're smiling. And that's what it's all about, right? Is boosting that morale and feeling really good and proud of the person that we're looking at in the mirror. So we are here to chat about makeup. Oh my goodness. So as I just shared, you know, I'm well versed with bridal makeup as well as just day-to-day professional makeup. It just feels good over the years to get to know people and different face shapes, different eye sets, different skin tones, different skin textures. You know, and even being able to do makeup lessons, which is one of the photos in the center here, you know, really guiding people as to how we can apply makeup, where does it go and why. And I know that a common question is, you know, I've got this makeup and I just don't know what to do with it. Like, yeah. You know, where do I start? So I want to make it so super easy for everybody, as best as I can to simplify it. Let's not get overwhelmed and get good at the basics. So let's make it easy. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about skin prep. We're going to talk about products. And I'm not talking about brands. I'm talking about products, what we might use a specific product for, why we might use a foundation over a powder, or maybe not getting hung up on those things. What's the job that we want it to do, right? Let's focus on that instead of getting overwhelmed by the sea of products that we see when we walk in the store. I'm going to share with you a basic application that you can be really successful in having a natural look that will make you glow. And then we're going to talk a little bit about your unique application, because let's face it, we're all different. We all have features that we love about ourselves. We all have features that we're like, I could have gone with my mom's nose, or, you know, that gene pool maybe wasn't kind in that area. And, you know, we can use makeup to adjust things so that we don't hyper focus on it, so that we can feel really beautiful. So first things first, you know, make your skin glow. When it comes to putting your makeup on, your skin prep is really important. So we have 3 steps here. The first is exfoliate. Now, exfoliation doesn't have to be a big to-do. Honestly, it can be as simple as taking a face cloth with warm water in the morning and gently massaging your face. Now, we don't want to hammer on your face. Like, you don't want it to be pink and rosy by the time you're done. Leave the skin on. But, you know, do some gentle circular motions, nice warm water, get some more water, wring it out, go over it again, focusing on areas that you may tend to see dry flakiness. You know, at the end of the day, if you notice that there's an area where you're kind of picking at your skin or flicking off dead skin, that is a good area in the morning to focus on with your face cloth to slough off that dead skin. So we remove that dead skin and then we're going to hydrate. Now, you know, we could get particular with what kind of hydration, but honestly, use a face cream. It could be a morning face cream. It could be a night face cream. Whatever you have, use a face cream to hydrate the skin. And we could get more specific into serums, but it doesn't really matter. Remove the surface plug of dead skin and then hydrate those fresh cells with a moisturizer, and then immediately move into your makeup application. So your foundation should be going on immediately after while your skin is actually still dewy. If you wait, some people, they wash their face, they make their coffee, and then they come back to it. And what's going to happen is that it's going to look like you've got makeup on your skin instead of a really flawless skin. So that's the difference there. So I really want to educate on, we wash our face and we go right into our makeup application. So make sure you've got your coffee already, make sure that you don't have any distractions, and just move into that next step. So keep it really simple with that.
It's a great tip. Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Yeah. And then, we pull out all of our makeup and we're like, look at all the makeup I have. Now, what do I do with it? And that's so common. When I have people come in for a makeup lesson, they pull out all this makeup, which is great. But because it's intimidating, we don't really know what to do with what, and we don't want to do it wrong. And that's a hard piece is, so what do I do with it? I don't want to do it wrong. So I'm actually just going to use this really light color that nobody can tell I'm wearing. And I'm going to use this one powder and maybe a little bit of blush, and like, that's it, which is perfect. But I don't want you to be scared of using your makeup. And really what I'm here to tell you is that you can, if the makeup is made for your face, you can put it anywhere on your face. I'm definitely the advocate for your eyeshadow. It can be used as a blush if you really like it, could be used as a highlighter if you really want it to. It's us that puts these barriers in place. And I feel like you can't do it wrong. So don't be scared to just jump in. And so when we're looking at all that makeup, we shut down, right? So let's not shut down. Let's get really clear. We want to be aware of what it is that we want to do. What's the intention? Is it just for a day-to-day? Is it because you have a blemish on your face? What is the intention that you're pulling all your makeup up for? And then what is the occasion? If you are planning to go to a gala or a nice dinner, you're going to need a little bit of darker makeup. You might want to be looking into more of a smoky eye, or is it just day to day? You just want to be fresh. Maybe you're just going for a hike. And again, you got that blemish. So let's get really clear on what it is that your intention for using your makeup is, and what is the occasion, so you can make sure that it's appropriate. If it's just a day to day, you're not necessarily going to be doing a smoky eye because you're going to look a little out of place, right? And then you want to, from there, determine what type of product you need, right? So obviously, if you're doing a day-to-day makeup for work, you're going to have lighter eyeshadow colors. You're going to have like a soft application of blush. It's going to be really soft and gentle. So any of your darker colors, you can just automatically put those away. Whereas if you're doing an evening, you're like, okay, what do I like for my smoky eye? Maybe I'm going to pull out my eyeliner also. So you can really set up and plan out the items that you want. So you don't get overwhelmed by all the makeup. You're actually planning what you're going to use. And then it really reduces that place of overwhelm and shutdown. And then at the very end of making all of these decisions, then we determine how we're going to do the application. And I think sometimes we get caught up at the beginning as to like, well, how do I do this? It's like, okay, but what's the plan? So I can't, we can't decide how we're going to apply makeup if we don't know what the actual plan is or what the to-do is. What is the event? So the how really comes at the end. And then that helps us get really organized and really clear and minimizes that stressful time. And so we really want to start with the basics. And, what I really like to bring it down to when I'm doing a makeup lesson with somebody is, what are you complaining about? What are your pain points? Is your skin too oily? Is your skin too dry? Do you feel like you can't get that even skin tone? Do you have age spots that you need to conceal? Do you put your makeup on and it just looks dull? Or you wake up in the morning, you're like, oh my gosh, like I don't know where to start and I feel like my skin is dull and so I don't do anything. Like these are really good questions to get clear on as to you're looking in the mirror and what is that self-talk that you're telling yourself? Because those are the key places to start in building a makeup regime. For some people, wrinkles, aging. I know for myself, I turned 35 this year and I've got these lines happening by my eye and I'm like, what the heck? And I really legitimately have had to adjust my makeup just slightly. So what are the things that you notice now when you do your makeup sometimes? It's like, gosh, I've done my makeup the way I always have. But what I'm noticing is that now my cheeks are down here and not up here. Or when I do that highlighter, I'm actually highlighting all those wrinkles. So I just stopped wearing it entirely. Well, that doesn't need to be the only option, right? We can just adjust where we place things. Another thing too that I hear people that they're not sure what tool to use. They really don't know a tool, a brush, and that can sometimes lead to a place of shutdown. And so we want to be aware, like, let's not get hung up on the tool. We want to focus on the product. And then of course, time. Not everybody has an hour in the morning to do a full face of makeup. And to be totally honest, I don't have an hour of time in the morning to do a full face of makeup. So I pick my favorites, and then I might add things in as I find new products that I'm excited about. If I learn a new tip or trick that I want to incorporate. And I'm definitely one of having one product that does multiple things. That makes me so happy, because then it actually reduces time if I have to open this one and then open that one, right? Let's make it super easy.
Love that.
So let's get really clear on what we're complaining about, and then we can really be successful in our makeup application. So this is super exciting. Yeah. This is a picture of yours truly, Lindsay Kusy. And you've got a picture of me I haven't done my makeup yet. And it's just really interesting. The difference is really subtle. But then in the after, that is a full face of makeup. And so you'll notice that my skin is more even. You'll notice that my skin is glowy. You'll notice that my lips are a little bit more defined. They have a nice glow around them. My brows are done. But those are my favorite features, is my brows and my lips and coverage. So when it comes to a basic application, based on what we just talked about, what you're complaining about, like, what are your top 3 pieces that are most important for you? And that is a perfect basic application. And so when I am thinking of a basic application in general, you'll see that I've listed some things out. Typically, we start with coverage. So that would be your foundation. Then you would move into a glow, which would be a blush. Blush tends to highlight things or have an iridescence, and that brings a glow to the skin. Some people might also choose to use like a bronzer. So bronzer and blush can be interchangeable. You also want to be aware to frame the face, and that is filling in your brows. Now, I prefer a strong brow, but you actually don't have to fill in your brow that heavily. But when you can bring that, just that little bit of depth to the brow, it really frames the face, and it actually brings the attention to the beautiful eyes. And we're actually noticing that more with COVID now and wearing masks, that there's so much eye attention. So, you know, that's something to be aware of. And filling in the brows doesn't have to be as full as mine, but just filling in those little gaps. Like you can see in my before picture that, you know, I've got some areas where the brows are super full and areas where it's sparse. So then I might just fill in on the head of the brow, a little bit in the top of my arch, and then a little on the tail, just to even it out. It doesn't have to be as crisp. And then another piece that I love that a lot of people don't do, a lot of people don't wear eyeshadow, but I like to brighten the eyes, and I like to do that with a soft linen color. Now, of course, depending on what your ethnicity is, you may have a darker base tone of your skin, but sometimes in your eye skin can be even darker with pigment. So I use a soft linen. If your ethnicity has you in a darker skin tone, you would use like a soft beige. But the idea is to even out the eyelid skin. Because I don't know if you've noticed, Sarah, but for me, sometimes when I wake up in the morning, my eyelids are almost like blue. Like they have like that sort of veiny colored look to them, right? It can appear darker, and that what leads us to looking tired. It's like our eye skin is blue. And so if we don't do anything with that, then it can make us look tired when in fact we're not.
Yeah, I can relate. I'm not a big eyeshadow wearer. I never have been. And mostly just because I don't like a lot of stuff on my eyes. But same thing lately, I've just been using like almost like just like a neutral powder color that I have.
Yes.
And yeah, just like, it's not quite a highlighter, but that kind of color.
Yeah.
And it's, yeah. And same thing. I was like, one day I was like, oh, just try like putting that like, you know, around my eyes. Yeah. Not like a full shadow, but yeah, I can relate for sure. And I'm like, oh, that makes a world of difference. Yeah.
It makes a world of difference. And I wasn't doing it for a period of time, and I finally did. It must have been in my mid-20s. And I kind of did that. And my girlfriend like stopped me. She's like, you changed something.
Something's like, different. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, she's like, your eyes look brighter. And I was like, oh my gosh, like I just needed that piece of validation. And honestly, it takes 2 seconds. And so I appreciate what you shared, is that you didn't do a full eyeshadow. So it's really a small amount. So if I show you my linen color, I've got it right here, and I don't know how the color is going to translate, but like you can see, it's like a linen.
Right. Yeah.
It's like an oatmeal. It's a little bit more, I guess, like a skin tone versus white. It's just the way that the light's catching it. And honestly, when I put this on, it's such a small sheer amount. It is the smallest amount, but it evens the eye tone because I don't want my eyes to look white. And Cher, I'm sure that you can attest, and even in this photo, like my eyes don't look white.
No.
It's such a small application that it allows your skin tone to shine through, but it catches the light in a way that those dark sort of blue areas are no longer reflecting.
Awesome.
So I use a little brush like this guy. So this is my favorite little brush for my eyeshadow. And I just like the contour of it. It's easy to get like in and around. But I use this, I do my entire eyelid, and I actually bring what's left on the brush on my lower lash line. I don't go into like where if I smile, I'm wrinkly. I'm like right up underneath those little lashes. And that just creates this really beautiful brightness for the eye. Which is really important, especially for mamas, you know, that maybe haven't slept a whole night. Maybe we're not sleeping because we got a lot on our brain. Like that is a great way to brighten up the eye and, you know, head to the grocery store or get to work.
I love that. It's a big thing for me. Like I just have like more dark circles. It's like, and it's just a genetic thing. It's not even like from like, not sleeping well. My dad always teased me like, sorry, you get that from me. But and so, yeah, I'm always looking for ways to like brighten my eyes and just not, cause I often like feel like that'd be like my one thing that bothers me is the dark circles and just my eyes seeming like I just look exhausted. So I love that. It's a great tip.
Yeah. So that's a great thing that you can add into your regime.
Yeah.
You know, and then depending too, like glistening lips, you know, and well, it kind of finishes a look. So a lot of people choose not to wear lipstick, and you don't have to wear lipstick. You don't even have to wear lip gloss. Honestly, having a sheen from a lip balm,
yeah, I do that a lot.
it can just be the difference, you know. And I started with balm, and then I graduated to like a little lip gloss, and now I enjoy having a little bit of pigment. But for me, it just feels finished. It feels clean. And especially when I'm going into business meetings, like I like to have that little bit of gloss on my lips, and it just makes me feel really finished and professional. You know, so that just has me, and I know, leading like confidently when I go into those meetings. So I think that's really important, is to make sure that we're honoring where our headspace needs to be.
Awesome.
Just to even go back to the first step there when it comes to coverage, just because you had shared a little bit, Sarah, about the darkness under your eyes.
Yeah.
So when it comes to coverage and foundation, everybody's needs are going to be different. So in my 20s, all I actually used was a powder foundation, a mineral powder foundation. Less is more because you can always build with it. And I would legitimately use a brush just like this. So it's like a flat-headed brush, or the equivalent to this would be a kabuki brush. And a kabuki brush looks like this. So they're very similar. The difference of these brushes versus a traditional powder brush is that these brushes have a lot of bristles really tight together. So when you have just a little bit of product on your brush, you can actually do a tight polishing motion.
Okay.
That's the ticket if you're just using a powder for your foundation. So I go one way, and then I grab a little more product, and then I actually do tight little circles the other way. And what I love about this, and no matter your age actually, is that you're going to get into the pore like from every angle. So every nook and cranny is covered. And for me, it gives you more of like that airbrushed look with just a powder, which can be really powerful.
Yeah, that's a really good tip, because yeah, I've lately been finding myself wearing more like liquid foundation because same thing. For a long time, I've just done powders because I found them to be a little faster, less messy, just easier.
Yes.
But then I've been frustrated that I'm not necessarily getting the coverage. And so that's a good tip, that I could actually still use a powder and probably get good coverage. So I'm going to get a brush like that.
Do it. And with the powders too, for the under eyes, is that you can then take a little bit of powder on your finger, and just a little bit, and dab it right under the eye, and you'll see it actually sit on the skin, and then bring your finger back around and just gently massage it in. And that's an easy way. Now for myself, I prefer that for my own application, because with it not being a liquid foundation, it won't crease as easily or as quickly.
Okay.
So the powder keeps it really soft. Now in saying that, Sarah, you want to make sure that in your skin prep, you're using an eye cream.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that skin needs to, like, we got to make sure it's hydrated, because if it's dry, you're going to do that and you're going to hate me because it's going to be dry and flaky and it's going to just not look as nice.
It's worse. Yeah, I've been there for sure.
Yes, yes. Okay. And that's why the prep is so important, because we start to see it in our coverage, right? Yeah, cool.
Exactly.
Now, if you feel like the powder, like for myself, like I admitted, I'm 35 now, so powder is just not enough coverage for me anymore. So you can shift into different styles of foundation, liquid foundation. There's some that are really sheer and I would describe as glowy. They have like a nice luminescence about them. And then there's other foundations that are thicker, creamier, and those would be better for building coverage. So you really have to decide what you are looking to cover. So in the last slide, we were talking about what are we complaining about? So we really want to get clear on what those complaints are so we can select. If you are complaining about a lack of luster, your skin looks tired, well, then maybe you want that glowy liquid foundation. But if you are feeling like your skin has uneven skin tone, maybe you have breakouts, acne scars, or a lot of blemishes happening, then you need more coverage. So you need something that's thicker, something that you can build with. So for myself, my new love actually is this liquid foundation. It's with Young Living, but it's very sheer. It's very glowy. So Sarah, I've started to use this, and then I do my polishing powder foundation over top of it. And it's really made the difference for any of the uneven skin tone and hyperpigmentation. However, when I'm doing my professional makeup applications, I'm using something thicker. This one is plant-based. Well, they actually all are. This is Pure Ananda.
Yeah, Pure Ananda.
Yeah, and it's a thicker application. I can build with it. It has a matte finish, which is really nice too. So there's nothing wrong with any of the products. It's just what is its purpose that you need to get clear on. Yeah. Okay. And so when it comes to building with foundation, I use my fingers to put my foundation on for my own personal application. When it comes to me doing someone else's application, I always use a sponge, which is just like this, because then I can throw it out at the end. But I really like the sponge because it's a good blending tool. So if ever you feel like you're sucking with blending, this is a good tool to have on hand. But if you are using sponges personally, please throw them out at the end of the use. If you've got liquid foundation and stuff in there, it's just going to harbor bacteria and you're going to do yourself a disservice moving forward. You can get them pretty inexpensively, but just toss them out when you're done. And so when you're building with foundation, if you're wiping, you're doing a very sheer application because you're doing a little bit of product being spread over a large area. If you want to build, you can start with that sheer wiping, but then you come back with more product and you dab and you place. You do like a rolling motion and you place on the cheeks, place. Yeah.
Cool.
Yes. So that is sort of a basic application, which is really exciting. And I know that that's a lot of information, but as I mentioned before, pick your three, like your top 3 areas of concern, and just get really good at those. And then you can always build from there. You can find out what your sort of unique characteristics are that you want to build on, and get more successful with that as you start to build your confidence. Just to touch again on the glow step or the blush or the bronzer. For myself, I prefer blush. I use a brush like this. So it looks like a mini powder brush. Some people choose to use a blush brush like this, and this is very similar. This is more rounded. This has more of like an angle on it. I like the one with the angle because then I can use it interchangeably, depending on what I want to use it for. But some key rules of thumb is that when you're applying your blush is to smile. And then you hit the tops of the apples and you bring all the way back to the top of your ear, actually. So you're creating this line. And what it's doing is actually bringing your cheekbone up, like right up. And it brings more positive attention to the eyes. It'll actually make your eyes glisten a little bit. I like the majority of the product to be closer here. And then I'm blending it out. There's less pigment on the brush as I get to the ear. And then you could focus on the apples if you want to. If troubleshooting, you've done your blush, and when you finish, you feel like your cheeks are down here, then you know what? Disregard the apple comment I just made and just do right here. avoid the cheek entirely, because as we age, we start to lose that collagen and elastin. So our skin does shift, and it can be not where we remember it being in our 20s. So there can be those moments when we do our blush and we're like, whoa, what the heck? And that's when those neat little aging gracefully moments where we then, it's not that we can't wear the blush, we just need to adjust the blush. So if you're that person that put the blush away because you're like, my cheeks just are not where I left them, then you want to be aware of the outside corner of the eye. That's where you start, and the top of,
Okay.
notice it brings this lift to the face, which is really exciting. If your preferred blush is actually a bronzer, then they often talk about doing the sun kiss, right? Where would the sun kiss you? And so it would be top of the brow, onto the cheekbone, and then onto the jaw to the chin. I would say the majority of your product you want sort of on the forehead in this area. So I would do 1, 2 sweeps, and then what's left on the brush, I would bring along the jawline into the chin.
It's like a 3, right?
Like a 3, yeah. And
Okay,
then do
okay.
similar here, but the majority of your product you want to be here, because these are the areas that are closest to the sun. And then this is just for a glow along here, a little sweep on the chin, a little sweep on the nose, and then I finish off the forehead. If you want to get really risque, you could even do your collarbones if you want it. If you're wearing like a wide cut top, it can bring like this nice little finesse.
Cool.
Yeah, so those are just some really basic parts and pieces for a basic application. How does that feel, Sarah? Does that feel like I know it probably feels like a lot of information, but is that?
No, it feels great. I know it's really awesome. I really like the tip about the blush, because that's something that I'm young still. I'm like only 33, but same thing, like just compared to my 20s. That was going to be one of my questions today, although you kind of answered it with a lot of your tips already. But that's something like just in the last year, I've started like looking in the mirror and like doing this with my face, you know, and just starting to notice that the skin, I never did that before, but in the last year, maybe 2, I've started going, and like even just you have been doing my eyebrows, like just noticing how I've had to like adjust the shape of it. I think I had shared that with you that I want, because I've noticed like things are starting to come down. So my eyebrow, of course, shaping and all that kind of stuff has helped with that a little bit, but I do notice where I apply my makeup too. If I'm not careful, I can do my makeup and then look in the mirror and it's almost like all the makeup has brought my face down.
Yes.
So I'm trying to learn like some tips and tricks about like where to put things. Even like I've recently got into trying to use highlighter and trying to highlight the things that I like, you know, but same thing, it's been a little bit of like trial and error of like, oh, that doesn't work, or you know, that works well. And so like the brightening of the eyes has really, but yeah, I like that tip about the blush, because same thing I notice if I put blush on my, kind of like what you said, the apples of my cheeks, I've been putting it on my jaw now. Like I was just like, what's going on? So, but I always just assumed I had to like hit my apples when I do my makeup. Again, I'm going to try that, just doing the, I do have a question though, because you talked about like blush and bronzer being interchangeable, and I don't really use bronzer anymore, but I used to use bronzer a lot, and I don't know, just you talking about it, I'm like, oh, I should get back into using bronzer. Would you ever use them together, or would you consider that to be overkill? Would you always use one or the other?
That really depends on the simplicity of your application. When I'm doing professional applications, I use both.
Yeah. Okay. So something, if you're kind of doing something a bit more like wanting to really like snazz yourself up, you might use both.
Yeah, you might use both, absolutely, because it really brings that luminous and that glow. It enhances that glow, right? For day to day, I would say one or the other, but if there's a particular glow look that you're wanting for,
use both. Okay, cool.
And actually, a little trick that I stumbled across, which you're gonna love this. Okay, so when you've done your blush or your bronzer, when you're done with your brush, before you put it away, I want you to put your lips together like this and then brush over them.
Okay.
The leftover product on your blush brush or your bronzer blush. It's the craziest thing. But if you look at the young, youthful, beautiful girls that are 16 to 22, they have a natural glow around their lips. And it's because of the way that their skin is functioning.
They have a natural glow everywhere, Lindsay.
but especially around their lips. So I was noticing again this lack of luster, and I don't even know if somebody told me or if I just had this moment of like, wait a minute. And I took my blush brush and I put it over my lips. So you close them, give it a little go, and then when you open them, you've created this little glow around your lip, and you're like,
okay, cool. I'm gonna try that too.
Yeah, it really refreshes the lip area. And especially for those people who don't like to wear lipstick, this is going to be a game changer because this will refresh. If you feel like you have small lips, don't be afraid of this because it's not going to highlight them in any way that would make you feel self-conscious about having thinner lips. It's really going to polish or finish your look because we tend to be all glowy from here up and we forget about the lips.
Right.
That is an easy way to incorporate the lips that has this balance that it's like, yes, fresh, you know, glowy, youthful. So that's a nice little youthful trick from me to you.
Cool. Thank you.
Oh yes, continue.
No, that's awesome. No, I love that. That's a great tip because like I say, I'm just like you know, it is different. Like, and people laugh at me all the time because I feel like often when I'm talking to people, they're like older than me, like 40 plus. So then when I complain about like my face drooping or like wrinkles, people just are like, you know, like go away, you know, but it's true. You start noticing it. Like I said, in my 20s, I never, you know, I mean, I've always been like pretty into skincare and like just taking care of my skin to a point. Like I go through phases, but definitely in the last couple of years, I'm like, hey, this is like a non-negotiable now. Like you can't get away with certain things that you used to. And yeah, you know, now I'm using like eye creams and serums and things like that. So yeah, this has been, I love the tip about exfoliating and exfoliating can just be just like you say, like warm water and a face cloth. Cause I tend to, I'm pretty sensitive. So any type of like actual abrasive, even like really, really gentle, like exfoliators, I found the odd one that works for me, but most of them just feel too aggressive. And so I love that tip that it doesn't actually have to be like a grainy, like exfoliator. Like you can literally just use like warm water and a face cloth. And I tend to just wash my face, but I never kind of thought of doing that like
intentional, right?
Intentional. So I'm going to try that. So that's really, really awesome. And yeah, the immediate makeup application is a great tip. And I just want to share that with everyone too, because I'm so glad you said that because it's something that I've noticed because I tend to, well, I think I was afraid before because I would put like my, you know, I've been using an eye cream probably for about 5 years now, but I put my eye cream on and then I will often use a serum and then a light moisturizer, especially in the morning. And yeah, and then I would look in the mirror and I'd feel like my face was, you know, it was hydrated, right? So at first it would feel like almost too like wet almost. I mean, not that bad, but
yeah.
And so I'd be like, okay, I got to let that sink in. Like I had this perception for a long time that I had to let it like sink in. So I would go and like make my bed or like do something. And then I go back and I put my makeup on and be like, what the heck? My skin was so hydrated and now it looks dry. Yeah. And then, yeah, I recently actually started like, yeah, letting my kind of like dewy, like wettish face and then putting the makeup on. And I'm like, wow, I actually do have like more of a glow now. And yes. Yeah, I just wanted to point out to everyone maybe watching that that's actually something I figured out by myself and that it actually is a really big game changer. Because I think a lot of people believe that just with talking to friends, like, yeah, like let the product like sink in. It's like, no, like get that makeup on your face if you want it to look dewy and glowy and it's probably something I got away with in my 20s, right? Because my skin was always dewy and like hydrated.
Absolutely. Well, absolutely. Absolutely. I'm so glad that you highlighted those parts and pieces because those are minimal adjustments and we don't want to over exfoliate the skin with our products because then that leads to other issues of breakouts and, you know, unaffected barrier function and removing the acid mantle. And there's all these things that can happen, but just a warm face cloth is perfect, you know, and so we can do that every morning. And then, you know, you would just exfoliate as your regular skincare routine would be in terms of having something maybe granule, or if you're using something that would be like an enzyme based exfoliant, or perhaps like an AHA, or I guess people might not know, it's an alpha hydroxy acid or a beta hydroxy acid. Those are some of our active exfoliating ingredients. So it doesn't have to be with these active things and it doesn't have to be this big to do every morning. It can be as simple as a nice warm face cloth. So I just wanted to share this with you for the basic application. I do have a little bit more information on the next slide, and this will lead into a little more conversation actually, Sarah. So, you know, we are individually perfectly unique. We've talked about where we could basically have our foundation, and here I've expanded a little bit more into each category. So, you know, when we talk about coverage, yes, we have the foundation. Sarah, we talked a little bit about how we can apply that. And for some people, they need to go that extra step and they need a concealer. And so when I'm doing my professional makeup applications, I am doing a full concealing on my people. For myself personally, I don't in my day-to-day. One, because it takes time and I just don't feel like I need it, but that doesn't mean that somebody doesn't need that. So, you know, for someone who is looking for concealer, you want something quite thick, you're going to actually mix it in with your foundation to get a perfect color match. And you want two tones. You want one that is an olive tone and one that is like a peachy tone. So your peachy tone concealer mixed in with a little bit of your liquid foundation is perfect for around the eye area because peach neutralizes blue.
Okay.
So it's sort of on your color wheel. If we have peach over blue, they neutralize and your actual skin tone will shine through with the foundation.
Okay.
If we have blemishes that are red because they're inflamed, then we want to use a concealer with an olive or green undertone. You mix that in with a little bit of your foundation and you press that onto your blemish and it'll neutralize that redness. And you will see a raised bump, but you will see no indication of an angry blemish.
Okay.
And then you would powder after. So similar like you and I were talking about. If you've done a lot of concealing for blemishes, instead of doing the tight circular motion, you're going to dab and place the powder. Because if you're doing this, you're going to take off a lot of the concealer you've just put on. So you're going to dab, 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 dab. So I guess it would be with a brush like this. Instead of this motion, you would just this or roll it.
Okay.
Place it. So that would be extended coverage for those who need it. And of course, if you have questions, reach out. Don't feel like you can't. And then what we didn't talk about, if we get into the glow portion, we talked a little bit about blush and bronzer, but we didn't talk about contour and we did not talk about highlighter. So this is a piece that gets really fun. So don't let it feel scary. Contouring is about creating shadows. So when we create shadows, we can minimize the appearance of something. So for instance, if I have somebody that I'm doing a professional makeup application for, and they have a very round face, and they don't like to wear blush because it's going to make their face look rounder, and they're feeling very self-conscious about their cheeks or even their jawline, we can use contouring. And I would use my blush brush just cleaned, and you can contour your jawline. So my contouring powder is actually really dark. Can you see how dark that is?
Yeah.
It's like really dark. It's like a dark number 3, dark number 4. It's like beyond dark. Yeah, this is crazy. So don't let that scare you. Because I mean, obviously, like I'm very fair, right?
Right.
But you're using such a small amount. And you can use this to create shadow. So if you want to thin out your face, or if you want more dimension on your face, you can create that shadow. So a good rule actually is to do contour in the cheek. And we see some girls do it, and we can see the cheek contour in some gals that are doing it because it's a little bit more prominent. But know that if you're doing your contouring, it doesn't have to be noticeable. I challenge you to do a little bit of contour. So you'll take a little bit and the smallest amount of a dark color like that, like the smallest amount. And you start at your ear, right where my earbud is, because the most of your pigment can be placed there. And then that way you can hide it with your hair if you suck at blending. So you can do the majority of the pigment there. And then you bring it, you sweep your brush towards your mouth, and you don't go any further than the outside corner of your eye. So you do a sweep like this. And then compare your face. I challenge you. Then compare your face in the mirror with the contour line and the non-contour line, and you will see that you have created a high cheekbone for yourself, and you've really thinned out your face.
Okay.
It's such an interesting eye trick. And then when it comes to a round face, if you wanted, you could then bring that contour line along the jawline. And so what you're doing is creating a firm jawline. So your face isn't looking rounder because your neck is involved in it. You're actually creating some definition. And for some of my girls, if I need to, I might actually even create that line and give the illusion that it's actually up higher than lower.
Okay.
That makes sense. So that's something that you can play with. And
yeah, contouring kind of scares me. So that's a good place to kind of try and
Yes. And
Yeah.
and this is more, right? Like you don't need a lot, and start as simple as just getting good at this contour here.
Okay.
And then you can
Cool.
walk around like a model. But it just creates that high cheekbone. Another one, if you feel like you have a large forehead, like a lot of space between here and there, right? So what you can do with your contour powder is actually take it and place it on your hairline, and then bring your brush and blend it. And what you start doing is creating shadow. So instead of the light hitting your forehead here and making it look bigger, you're creating shadow. So instead of it looking this big, then you actually are bringing it in to look that big.
Okay, I'm gonna try that. That's definitely me. I've kind of gone back and forth in my life having bangs because of that, because I don't love my high forehead. So yeah, that's funny.
And yeah, and it's so simple. And again, like you don't have to see the color. And I think that's a big piece. And I want to be really clear with everyone who's viewing is that you don't have to see the color. It doesn't have to be dark brown.
Sure. Yeah, totally.
Don't have to see it. You just want to be intentional about being close enough to the, like for me, I almost have like that widow's peak if I'm not careful.
Right.
And so I will often bring in quite a bit of dark here, because then instead of my hairline coming out like this, it stops there.
Stops there. Yeah, okay.
And nobody's the wiser. I can pull my hair back in all the ways, but it's just not grabbing the light. So you're not going to bring your skin tone to this dark color, but you're just not allowing your skin to be as, for me, white as it is.
Okay, I'm gonna try that.
Slight adjustment. And then often what I do for myself is that I do define my jawline on the regular. And if we go back to the other photo, you can actually see how much more slender my jawline looks in the after photo. And that's from that little bit of contouring. And you can see how prominent my cheekbones look. And that's actually from the contouring.
You know what? You look beautiful in both of those pictures. But so beautiful, but I can see what you're talking about.
Well, it's subtleties, right? And I mean, I feel like, Sarah, you can, relate where, it's not that we are down on ourselves, but we just like to feel our best,
Sure, for sure.
So yeah, no matter how we look when we wake up in the morning without any makeup, it's always nice to just feel comfortable in our skin.
Totally. No, I love these tips. I'm, like you, less is more. I like to use, when I do a full face of makeup like I did today, I don't do this every day, even if I'm like actually working or like going out and like seeing people, but you're right. I think it's also okay to just acknowledge that, as we age, our skin changes and therefore we need more makeup, because that's something I've noticed too, is I could get away with just kind of a little bit here and there. Even you mentioned earlier, like, yeah, if you're going on a hike and you like want to hide a blemish, and it's funny because I just normally wouldn't put anything on. I'd be like, whatever, I'm going for a hike or I'm going to the gym or whatever. Right. Whereas now I'm like, you know what? No, like I still want to feel good. Like, even though I'm just, going to go sweat or something, like I still want to like feel good in my skin. And, I think it's okay to recognize that, we're getting older and our skin's changing. It's just part of what happens when we age, and there's nothing wrong with wanting to feel good in our skin.
Absolutely. I totally agree. I'm just being aware of the time here, and there's still a little bit more information that I want to get through. So I'm going to carry on. I just want to touch a little bit on highlighter, because there's always questions about highlighter. And so if we're considering highlighter, it is to, again, make the appearance of things looking brighter. Typically, your highlighter is actually going to go on top of your blush. So your blush would be sitting here and your highlighter is going to be just above that. Okay. Now, if you are somebody who's really self-conscious about crow's feet or any lines around the eye, then you actually want to be on the lower side. So at the end of those lines, if we bring the highlighter over those lines, it's going to really highlight them. So you want to be either at the end, but if it feels like you're getting too low, then you can actually do your highlighter here and then up onto the brow, because then you're reflecting that attention up instead of highlighting things that have like a negative feeling, or making something that you don't want to appear larger. So for myself, I typically bring it around here, and I'll do just a slight right there. I usually don't come any further than with the outside corner of my eye. I also bring my highlighter around my lips because now I've become this like glowy lip junkie, which it's fantastic. And I do a little bit on my nose here also. And then I often do my collarbones too. So highlighter doesn't have to be scary, but again, decide what your features are. What's the purpose of you using the highlighter? And is that something that you want to do? And if you're applying it and you're noticing that it's highlighting those wrinkles, well, maybe that's not the area. Maybe it's up here. That's better, and a little on the nose and a little around the mouth. We talked a little bit about brows already, so that's great. And know that there's no wrong tool. If you prefer to work with a pencil, work with a pencil. If you prefer to work with a powder, work with a powder. If you want to get risque, you could have your angle brush that you're using for your brows and moisten it in water, and then touch it into your brow powder, and then you're making a paste. That's how I do my brows. Okay. So whatever your tool, there's one's not better than the other, because I actually use all of them in my makeup applications, and then I use different mediums personally. It's what are you most successful with? Okay. Right? That's really what's easy. Pencil, I find pencils actually easier in my professional makeup kit because it's quick. It's quick for myself. I prefer the liquid, but I also do what I use to fill in my brows. I use as my eyeliner. I'm like 2-in-1 kind of gal, right? Because then it's quick and it's easy. When we think about the eyes and color selection, that can be really challenging for people to, you know, go with. So because we have such a great resource called Google, legitimately do yourself the service and search. You know, if you have blue eyes, what are good color palettes? And start there. And then, you know, we can also chat a little bit more about it, but that's like an hour on itself of like color selection. So I say, don't be scared. Less is more. So have like your basic soft linen color, maybe have one color to accentuate your eyes, and maybe you would have one other color that is depth. So whether it's a black, a charcoal, or a brown to add that depth. And the depth typically wants to be on the outside corner of your eyelid, because that finishes off, adds that depth. You would typically have your fun color on your lid, and then the linen was everywhere else. And that's an easy eye color application. That's not intimidating. Okay. Of course, we have our eyeliner. Again, pick your preferred method. If you prefer pencil for eyeliner, great. If you prefer cream liner, great. If you're like me and I use my angle brush with some water and my powder and create my line, great. There's no wrong way to do it. I like this method with this guy because I can actually get my product on there and dab it to make my perfect straight line. I find it more risk-free. It's very easy for me to maneuver, but that's for me. Yeah, and then we already talked a little bit about lips. One thing I want to share with you though, lastly, with your color selection, is if you're not sure what colors to get for yourself, hold them up to your face because it never lies. So for instance, if you're looking for blush colors, you can hold blush colors right up to your skin and you'll know immediately if a color in there is going to work for you. This one, absolutely not. Yeah. Maybe, but the center one is probably more likely with my skin tone. Yeah. I just kind of know instantly whether something is going to be flattering or like, ooh, you know, you look like a clown. Alternatively, if you're looking for your bronzers, you can do the same idea. You can see what's going to work best with your skin tone. Like this one on the end is perfect for me. Right. So it's hard to see over Zoom, and I knew that it would be, but when you are legitimately up close and personal at the makeup counter at, you know, a Shoppers or wherever it is that you're doing your shopping and you're by yourself, hold that color up. You can do the same with lipstick. So they have the testers. Don't put the testers on your lips. You grab the tester, you have it completely erect, and you hold it against your skin tone and look in the mirror. And you know immediately if this is a lip color for you or not. You just know if you like it. And if you're looking at it being like, oh, that's terrible, but don't look at the color like this and be like, no, I don't like that. Hold it up to your face, look in the mirror, and you'd be like, oh, you might actually be surprised. You'd be like, interesting. So that's an easy way if you don't have your girlfriends, or if you have your girlfriends and you don't trust their opinion, which has happened to all of us. Well, you're right. I mean, I bought lipstick colors because I like the color, but then I bring them home and then I put them on my face and they don't look good, you know? So yeah, totally. So that was like wicked makeup in a nutshell. I just want to show you, you know, what that difference can be. You know, this is me doing yoga. I think I just had my moisturizer on, tinted moisturizer, you know, and then I've got me done up for the work day. I've got some eyeliner, some mascara, you know, a lot for a basic application. And then I have a professional photo where I have all the makeup in the world on my face, but you can see the different stages. But what I love is that even with a full face, it doesn't look like a full face. It just looks really polished and really refined. And that's where I feel like I shine as a professional, is being able to really enhance those beautiful aspects you already have without it making it look like you're done up.
That's awesome.
And so I'm always happy to chat about makeup and questions. I've shared a little bit about it already through the presentation. Is, you know, I do offer makeup lessons, and this is an opportunity where you can bring your makeup. I have my kit too, and we can chat and discuss all things makeup. And honestly, like an hour to do that is just not enough time, because it ends up being so fun and so informative. But when that happens, like the things to consider when you're asking makeup questions are, what are your top concerns? And what have you found to be most helpful? You know, for you, Sarah, just that little bit around the eye has been most helpful. So we could really break that down, or if you feel confident with that, then we can move on to another concern. And then I just have a question for our audience, and I would love to see comments in the replay. It's topics and areas that I could expand on. You know, I really appreciate having feedback, and makeup and skincare is so broad and so expansive that if you feel like there's a part and piece that I missed that you'd like more information on, like, I would love to hear about it, because that just gives me good feedback. And at the end of the day, if you're like, oh my gosh, Lindsay, that was too much information and I still have no idea what to do with it, then maybe you just need a lesson and we'll get you started.
That is awesome. Lindsay, thank you so much for a wonderful workshop this morning. This has been so much fun. I really hope everyone can catch this on the replay and that you loved it as much as I did. This was so great. Makeup's never been a big, strong thing for me. I just have kind of worn basic application most of my life. And so just the tips and tricks that you've shared today has really made me excited to do my makeup tomorrow. So thank you so much. Thank you everybody for tuning in and watching the replay. Please contact Lindsay if you have questions, or maybe want a makeup lesson. She is honestly so awesome, and is the easiest person to talk to about, you know, your insecurities and things like that. So don't be afraid, reach out. And thanks everybody for dropping in and checking it out. Thanks, Lindsay. Everybody have a great day.
Thank you. See you guys.
Bye.